Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio. Welcome to Policy and Rights, the show about governing policy and human rights. Welcome back, everyone, to Depictions Media Radio. In this next segment, we're going to be hearing from President Joe Biden in the United States, talking about economic growth and deficit reduction in the U.S. He's going to talk about how the second year in a row that under his administration that they were able to reduce the federal deficit, which means a lot for the economy and a lot for inflation, as well as jobs and in the ability to do things for the American people. So he does quote that he's been able to do this twice when his predecessor Donald Trump was not able to reduce debt to the point and that he has, and that the federal deficit continued to grow under the administration with Donald Trump. So let's hear what he has to say with that, as well as he's going to have shortly after to have a celebration with Team USA, the Olympic team, over their accomplishment and what it means for them to represent the United States at the Olympics.
Well, good afternoon. Before I begin, let me tell you, I'll be around to answer questions on a lot of things, but I got 600 Olympians waiting out there for me. If you keep me too long, they'll rush the place, and all kidding aside. This week, my administration released new information that contains that we're on track to cut the federal deficit by another $1.5 trillion by the end of this fiscal year. The biggest decline in a single year ever in American history. The biggest decline on top of us having a $350 billion drop in the deficit last year, my first year as president. We also learned that for the first time since 2016, the Treasury Department is planning to pay down the national debt issued to the public this quarter. And for all the talk the Republicans make about deficits, it didn't happen a single quarter under my predecessor. Not once. The bottom line is the deficit went up every year under my predecessor before the pandemic and during the pandemic. And it's gone down both years since I've been here. Period. They're the facts. And why is it important? Because bringing down the deficit is one way to ease inflationary pressures in an economy where a consequence of a war and gas prices and oil and food and it's a different world right this moment because of Ukraine and Russia. We reduced federal borrowing and we helped combat inflation. This process is a great deal, is good news, but it didn't happen by itself. The previous administration increased the deficit every year it was in office, in part because of its reckless $2 trillion tax cut. I know you're tired of hearing me saying but a $2 trillion tax cut that was not paid for. And a tax cut that largely benefited the biggest corporations, 55 of which earned $40 billion in profits and paid not a single penny in income tax in 2020, and wealthiest Americans, like the billionaires who on average pay just 8% in federal taxes. The previous administration not only ballooned the deficit, it undermined the watchdogs, the inspector generals, whose job it was to keep the pandemic relief funds from being wasted. Remember, at the time, I kept saying they're going to fire the inspector generals. Well, they fired the inspector general. And in my administration, those watchdogs are back. The Justice Department has a chief prosecutor for pandemic fraud who's going to go after the criminals who stole billions in relief money meant for small businesses and American families, but never got to them, got in the pockets of criminals. When I came to office, we took a different approach across the board. With the American Rescue Plan and other actions, we started to grow the economy from the bottom up and the middle out. Rescue checks and tax cuts for working families that gave them just a little bit of breathing room and put food on the table and a roof over their heads. Remember the first year, all those long lines of automobiles lined up and going through a parking lot just to get a box of food in their trunk? We got vaccination shots in arms that helped us go from 2 million Americans who'd been vaccinated to more than 220 million Americans fully vaccinated. And we made it easy for millions of Americans to sign up for coverage under the Affordable Care Act, saving them an average of $2,400 a year. As a result of these and other economic recovery plans, we recovered faster than projected. A record 6.7 million jobs created last year, the most in the first year of any president in American history, and the fastest economic growth in any year in nearly 4 decades. And looking ahead, I have a plan to reduce the deficit even more, which will help reduce inflationary pressures and lower everyone's costs for families. Look, it's a plan that lets Medicare negotiate price of prescription drugs, as they do with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We can cap the price of insulin at $35 instead of the hundreds of dollars, even $1,000 a month for some families. And my plan provides tax credits to utility companies to generate clean energy. And those companies are required to pass those savings on to families. I met with about a dozen of those utility CEOs here in the White House, and they confirmed this plan will lower energy bills for families immediately. My plan includes tax credits for consumers to purchase electric or fuel cell vehicles, new or used, which will save the typical driver about $80 a month not having to pay for gas at the pump. Tax credits for folks to buy solar panels and heat pumps and more efficient windows and doors for their homes. Estimated savings $500 per year on average. And we can do these things by making sure that no one earning less than $400,000 a year will pay a single penny more in federal taxes. All we're asking is that the wealthiest Americans and the largest corporations begin to pay their fair share, at least part of their fair share. You've heard me say it before, I'm a capitalist. I believe you should be able to make much money as you legally can, but just pay your fair share. There's no reason why a billionaire should be paying a lower tax rate than a teacher or a firefighter. That's in sharp contrast to what today's Republican Party is offering. And if they hadn't put this in print, you'd think I was making it up. Senator Rick Scott of Florida, United States Senator, who's leading the Republican National Senatorial Campaign Committee, released what he calls the Ultra MAGA Agenda. It's a MAGA agenda, all right. Let me tell you about this Ultra MAGA agenda. It's extreme, as most MAGA things are. It will actually raise taxes on 75 million American families, over 95% of whom make less than $100,000 a year. Among the hardest hit, working families, kids with folks. Imagine you're a family of 4 and you don't make enough money to have federal taxes. Because you don't make enough money to pay them. You pay all your taxes, but you just don't make enough. And under this new plan, this tax plan, the Ultra MAGA agenda, while big corporations and billionaires are going to pay nothing more, the working class folks are going to pay a hell of a lot more. And it goes further than that. This extreme Republican agenda calls for Congress. Now, I'm not making this up either. You ought to really think about this. It requires a vote, if it were to pass, every 5 years, the Congress would have to vote to reinstate or eliminate Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Social Security is something seniors have paid in for their whole life. and it has to be reauthorized? Has to be reauthorized every 5 years? Look, again, it's hard to make this up, but then again, it's a mega agenda. You know, meanwhile, millionaires and billionaires and corporations skate by. Imagine that. Just imagine that. I think it is truly outrageous. I've offered a different plan, a plan rooted in American values of fairness and decency. Wealthy folks and corporations will pay a little more. Billionaires will have to pay a minimum tax. And again, most importantly, no one making less than $400,000 will pay a penny more in federal taxes. We're going to protect and strengthen Social Security and Medicare, not put it on the block every 5 years. Let me remind you again, I reduced the federal deficit. All the talk about the deficit from my Republican friends, I love it. I've reduced it $350 billion in my first year in office. And we're on track to reduce it by the end of September by another $1.5 trillion, the largest drop ever. I don't want to hear Republicans talk about deficits and their ultra-MAGA agenda. I want to hear about fairness. I want to hear about decency. I want to hear about helping ordinary people. The bottom line is that for decades, the trickle-down economics has failed as income inequity grew to historic levels under the Republicans, the mega Republicans, the MAGA Republicans. I don't want to mispronounce it, the MAGA Republicans. This is time to grow the economy, but from the bottom up and the middle out. Because here's the deal. When the poor have a ladder up and the middle class grows, the wealthy always do very well. They do very well. That's what this is about. That's what this is about. Everybody doing better. And so I want you to understand, again, first year, $350 billion reduction in deficit. This year, $1.5 trillion. It's going to bring some relief. Thank you. I take a few questions quickly.
Mr. President, may I ask you a question about sanctions? The EU, about sanctions against, or about further sanctions in Europe. The European Union today announced new sanctions against oil, against Russia. What's the next round for the U.S.? And also on a separate issue, what's the next step on abortion once this case gets settled?
I want to ask about deficits, huh? I want to make sure this doesn't get covered. Okay, here we go. I'm going to answer those two questions and then go out to talk to the Olympians. With regard to the additional sanctions, we're always open to additional sanctions, and I've been in consultation. I'll be speaking with the members of the G7 this week about what we're going to do or not do, number one. Number two, what was the second one? Look.
The second one was on abortion.
As I said when when this hit, as I was getting on the plane to go down to Alabama, this is about a lot more than abortion. I hadn't read the whole opinion at that time. But this reminds me of the debate with Robert Bork. Bork believed the only reason you had any inherent rights was because the government gave them to you. If you go back and look at the opening comments of the Bork-Biden when I was questioning him as chairman, I said, I believe I have the rights that I have, not because the government gave them to me, which you believe, but because I'm just a child of God. I exist. I delegated by joining this union here to delegate some obligation, some rights I have to the governments for social good. So the idea that somehow there is an inherent right, that there is no right of privacy, that there is no right. And remember the debate you don't remember, but we had a debate about Griswold versus Connecticut. There had been a law saying a married couple could not purchase birth control in the privacy of their own bedroom and use it. Well, that got struck down. Griswold was thought to be a bad decision by Bork, and my guess is the guy's on the Supreme Court now. What happens if you have a state changes the law saying that children who are LGBTQ can't be in classrooms with other children? Is that legit under the way the decision is written? What are the next things that are going to be attacked? Because this MAGA crowd is really the most extreme political organization that's existed in American history, in recent American history.
Will you make a speech on abortion like
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise, if able, for the singing of our national anthem by Sergeant First Class Adiza Jabril from the United States Army Band.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rattling, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you so much. And I would like to say thank you to the band who has been playing since 8:30 this morning. Can we say thank you? So, hello, Olympians and Paralympians. Welcome to the White House. Doug and I were so grateful to see your games in Japan. And Tokyo was the first time I had the opportunity to see a 3-on-3 women's basketball game. And I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. It was everything I love about sports. Oh, you guys can sit down. I'll start again. It was everything I love about sports. The moment when the team seems to know each other's thoughts. The air is electric with that connection. When the crowd is breathing with one breath, our hearts racing to the rhythm of each thump of the ball. Every basket, pure joy. As I watch Stephanie, Alicia, Kelsey, and Jackie fly back and forth on that court, only one thing mattered to the crowd. We were all Team USA. That's the power of what all of you do. You don't just play a game, run a race, hit a target, or win a competition. With every step, jump, roll, kick, and twirl, you show us the heights of our human potential. You show us how to fail and then get back up. You teach us that hard work and sacrifice and determination can push us beyond what we ever thought was in our reach. When we cheer you on, we are more than our cities or our states or our backgrounds. We are a part of something bigger than ourselves. You help us believe in the impossible and leave our differences behind. Now, I know that these games may not have been exactly as you once imagined, with stadiums packed with people and all of your loved ones screaming from the sidelines. But you are all champions just the same. Becoming an Olympian or a Paralympian is a rare accomplishment in a normal time, but you did it during a global pandemic. You are forever one of the most elite, most celebrated athletes in this world. I hope that you are proud of everything you have accomplished, because we all are. We are so proud of you. And we are grateful for the gifts you've given us, the hope, the joy, the unity, and most of all, the chance to see all of you soar. Thank you. And now, an even greater fan of Team USA, my husband, our president, Joe Biden.
Thank you, Julie. You know, as a guy who heads up the Veterans Affairs for America, the big guy standing there, please sit down, guys, knows I'm glad the Lord didn't come down and give me a choice between being president and an Olympian. I had all those Walter Mitty dreams, you know, and they weren't about being president or being about a great athlete. Thought I was, you know, in high school and college. But I tell you what, you all are incredible. You're absolutely incredible. Welcome to the White House. Welcome to the White House. This is your house. This is the people's house. The Bidens are a big sports family. We love watching the Olympics. And Jill came home from Tokyo. All she could do was talk about you all constantly. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. And we know that no matter the results, we wanted to honor you here at the White House. And I'm sorry you had to wait that year between the time it was set and time to go. I mean, you've been through so darn much. You've been through so much. 600 American Olympians and Paralympians from the Summer Games in Tokyo and the Winter Games in Beijing. Athletes from all across America, from all kinds of backgrounds, including 18 veterans of the United States Armed Forces who are here today. And more than 260 medals across a dozen sports weighing 1 million pounds. Thanks for letting me hold those medals, man. It made me feel important for a second. They are something else. Thank you. We also know the pride your families felt, and how hard it was for them and for you that they couldn't be there in person with you. Our favorite part of the Olympics, Jill and my family, was watching your families watch you. I'm not joking. Watching your families watch you, learning about who you are, because we learn about how big and diverse and talented, how great this nation is, just how diverse we are. The pandemic made training and competing especially difficult and draining, but you did it. You all did it. We were in awe, not just of your incredible athleticism, but your endurance and your state of mind, but most of all, your character. You all have such incredible character. No matter what event you compete in, you draw inspiration from your work, your hard work, your courage, your discipline as you watch it. As we watch you, I'm serious. Whether you're a would-be athlete like me or you've never played a sport, I'm serious. You look at you look how you handle victory and defeat. It's just astounding, astounding. And as I was saying to a couple of Paralympians, you inspire people. You inspire people around the world. You inspire them to pursue their hopes and their dreams, not just in sport, but in life. I've had kids come up to me and say, "Did you see? Did you see? I think I can." Not a joke. You all know it. It's real. They're people you'll never meet. Witness how hard you competed, trained, and pushed yourself. And you help them believe in themselves. You've helped them believe that they can do things that maybe, just maybe I can. They look at you and see that despite the emotional, mental, and financial and physical toll, you've never given up. You just don't quit. As I said to our foreign leaders, my counterparts, there's no quit in America. There's just no quit. And you're the quintessential example of that. There's no quit in America. None. The power of your example gives so many people strength to never give up as well. It matters. Particularly matters today because of the pandemic. So much turmoil has occurred. So many people are dealing with problems, particularly little kids, in terms of health, mental health problems and the like. You've given people so much hope. In you, I see who we are as a nation. The only nation in the world that can be defined by one word. One word. I was asked when I was in the Tibetan Plateau with Xi Jinping, and he looked at me. I had a simultaneous interpreter, and he had one. And he looked at me and said, "Can you define America for me?" It's a true story. It's been published all over the world by now. And I said, "Yes, I can. In one word. Possibilities." We believe in America anything is possible, and you are the explanation of what we mean. It's all about possibility. Breaking limits. You represent the very soul of America. And that's not hyperbole. You genuinely do. I'm sure you've been told this 1,000 times since you've been home. And people talk to you and tell you about what they thought when they were watching you. You know, and as sports does, like few things, you helped us unite the nation. We've been a very divided nation philosophically of late, but you brought us together. For no matter the divisions, when we see you compete, we feel a common pride in those three letters, USA. I mean that. There's a common pride. It crosses all political spectrums. You know, through the lows and the highs and the tears and the joy, we were with you every moment. To all of you, whether it was your first time competing or the culmination of your career. I want to thank you for showing what we can do together as one America and one Team USA. And now it's my honor to introduce one of our amazing athletes, Alana Myers-Taylor.
That's my pilot!
Hometown, Douglasville, Georgia. Her dad, a star football player at the Naval Academy before becoming a Marine. Like so many of you, she grew up playing sports. College softball here in D.C. at GW, George Washington University, as a pitcher and a shortstop. She came close to making the Olympic softball team, but never gave up on her Olympic dream. During 2002 Winter Games in Salt Lake, she watched American bobsledders. Vonetta Flowers become the first black athlete to win a gold medal at the Winter Games. And this is what I mean by inspiration. With her mom and her dad's support, she switched sports, trained hard. You know, she was devoted. She even married a bobsledder. Trained harder after becoming a mom. And after a silver and bronze in Beijing, she became the most decorated woman ever to compete in Olympic bobsled and the most decorated black athlete in the Winter Olympic history. And she dedicated her medals to her beautiful baby boy, Nico. She carried our flag during the closing ceremonies. Today, she's here to represent her fellow Olympians and our country at the White House. Alana, the podium is yours. You earned it.
Mr. President, Madam Vice President, Dr. Biden, and Mr. Emhoff, what an honor it is to be here today. This is a moment that is truly beyond the imagination of many of our dreams. One that many of us thought may never be possible. As a team, Olympians, Paralympians, summer athletes, winter athletes, we've been through a lot. A pandemic, a postponement, a war. But this team is resilient. We came together and we persevered, and we hope we've made this country proud.
You did.
We are Team USA. This is one amazing group behind me, and I hope many of you get to know them. And those who couldn't join us today, we are one team, bonded forever by the incredible honor of representing this great nation and wearing our flag. On behalf of the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee and Team USA, I would like to invite a few of my teammates now to present some pretty awesome Team USA swag. So please, let me introduce speed skater Brittany Bowe, curler John Schuster, javelin thrower Kara Winger, para-triathlete Melissa Stockwell, para-alpine skier Danielle Umstead, para-alpine skier Tyler Carter, wheelchair rugby player Chuck Aoki, and wheelchair basketball player Matt Scott.
Here we go. Don't jump. She's our photographer. Look at her up there. She was in a 3-meter board. Got it?
Thank you, and let's take a team photo.
This show has been produced by Depictions Media. Please contact us at depictions.media for more information.